My name is Emma. I'm 31 years old, and I live in a quiet town about an hour outside of Chicago. Every morning, I brew a cup of coffee, check the weather forecast, and then head to my office just down the street. I'm the co-founder of a health tech company, and it's not an easy thing to explain to people who think that all office jobs are just data entry. My family never really understood what I did, or maybe they just never cared. I've always been the odd one out, the quiet one who didn't care for makeup or fancy clothes, always buried in my work. My sister Kate, on the other hand, has always been the perfect one in their eyes. She's 2 years older than me. Beautiful, graceful, always the center of attention. At family gatherings, it was always about her. Kate, you look stunning in that dress. Kate, your new boyfriend's a lawyer? Impressive. And well, if anyone even remembered I was there, it was always with a line like, Emma? Oh, she works in tech, I think. I was just a background figure. I thought if I worked hard enough, if I did everything behind the scenes, my parents would finally see me and be proud, just like they were of Kate. But it never happened. All the praise, all the expectations, all the attention, they were always for her. I worked late nights, handling multi-million-dollar projects, and they never asked how I felt about it. They never cared. They just assumed I'd always be there to clean up the mess when things went wrong. We haven't spoken in 2 years. No texts, no calls, no birthday wishes. Just silence, like I didn't exist. The last time I spoke to my dad was on my mom's birthday. I was going to fly in early, like I always did, to help prepare for the celebration. But when I called, it was my dad who picked up the phone. I said, I'll be back early to help. Let me know if you need anything. He hesitated, then told me, Actually, Emma, don't come back this year. Kate's bringing her new boyfriend, and it's just better if you stay away. You'd make things awkward. I froze, waiting for an explanation, but there was none. I asked if my presence would make the family look bad, and he didn't deny it. In fact, he doubled down. If you insist on coming, don't call me your father. And with that, he hung up. I was done. The world around me felt different, cold, empty. I stared at the phone, letting his words sink in, but there was no anger, just a numbness I couldn't shake. I had spent years supporting them, sending money to cover their bills, $5,000 a month for utilities, groceries, repairs, and yet none of that mattered. I sat there for hours in my small apartment, the silence pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't escape. The coffee cup had gone cold, and the daylight outside had faded into a gray dusk. I had always believed that family was something you could rely on, a safety net, something that would never turn its back on you, no matter how hard you tried. But that belief was shattered, broken in a single sentence. The simple reality that they didn't need me, not really. I thought about the money I had sent over the years. $5,000 a month without fail, each time they asked. The utility bills, the groceries, the unexpected repairs. I had never once been asked if I could afford it. The one time I stopped to question it, when my father told me not to come home because of Kate's boyfriend, that was the breaking point. All the money, all the support, and I was still just a footnote in their lives. I opened my banking app, scrolling through the payments I had made. The total amount was staggering, nearly $15,000 over the last 2 years. Each line, each bill paid, and not once had I received a thank you. Not once had anyone acknowledged the sacrifices I had made. I hovered my finger over the cancel button, and in one quick motion, I stopped all of the recurring payments. The silence that followed was louder than anything I had felt before. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. All I had to do was let go. The next morning, I woke up to the usual hum of my small apartment. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting soft light through the blinds. I should have felt relieved. After all, I had just made a choice to stop supporting a family that had never truly seen me. But instead of peace, I felt a strange emptiness, a hollow sensation deep in my chest. The decision to stop sending money wasn't made out of anger. It was more of a quiet, final realization. For years, I had been their backup, the one who fixed things when they broke, paid for what was missing, and shouldered the burdens they couldn't handle. And I did it all without question. I convinced myself it was my duty, that family came first. But now, after everything that had happened, I knew better. I had always assumed that they would notice. That one day, they would see the sacrifices I had made. But instead, they took my quiet efforts for granted, like I was nothing more than a bank account with a face. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about the years I had wasted trying to be someone I wasn't for their approval, for their love. The phone buzzed next to me, breaking my thoughts. It was a message from my mom. "Emma, can you check on the house? It's freezing and the heat's out again. Please, we really need your help." I stared at the screen. The words stung. No mention of how I was doing. No, "I miss you." Just another request, another demand to fix what they had broken. I set the phone down, not out of anger, but because I was too tired to even feel angry anymore. It was like I had already mourned the loss of this family. I had no intention of replying, no intention of going back. But then the messages started pouring in. "Emma, we need you. Can you at least help us with the electricity bill?" That was from my dad. A simple request, one I had received 1,000 times before. But now it felt different. This time, I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't the one who always cleaned up the mess. I turned my phone off, let it rest there on the table as if it were another weight I no longer needed to carry. It was clear now. If I didn't step away, I would never stop. They had trained me to be the one who stepped in when things went wrong, the one who never said no, who didn't rock the boat. But now, I was done. I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. The next few days were eerily quiet. My phone rarely buzzed, and when it did, I barely glanced at it. Each time I did, it was the same thing. A simple request, a demand for help. But I was done. No more automatic transfers. No more covering for their mistakes. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. At work, things continued as usual. I was focused on the company, on the projects I had worked so hard to build. But even in the midst of meetings and conference calls, my mind would drift back to the messages I had received. My family's expectations, the way they had always assumed I would be there to bail them out. I thought about all the years I had spent worrying about their well-being, trying to be the perfect daughter. They never once asked if I was okay, if I needed help. It had always been about them. Always about Kate and her perfect life, about the messes they made that I was expected to clean up. A week passed, and I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd finally understood. Maybe they were starting to get it, that I wasn't just a safety net for them to fall back on when they needed something. I didn't need to be their fixer anymore. But then, just as I had started to let my guard down, a message came from Kate. I opened it reluctantly, already knowing what it would say. "Mom's in tears, Emma. She needs your help. I don't know what to do." I paused, reading the words over again. The same tone, the same guilt trip. They still hadn't changed. They still thought that I would drop everything to come to their rescue. But this time, I wasn't going to fall for it. I didn't respond. Instead, I set the phone down and went to my desk, trying to focus on the work in front of me. It was hard to ignore the feelings of resentment that bubbled up inside me, the bitterness that had been growing for years. But I stayed calm, reminding myself that this was the right thing to do. The following day, my mom called. I didn't pick up. She called again and then again. The relentless buzzing of my phone filled the room, each call a reminder of how much I had given, how little I had received in return. Finally, I decided to answer. "Emma, we need to talk. Your father's really upset. The house is falling apart, and you've always been the one to fix things. Please, don't shut us out." I felt a pit form in my stomach. The guilt, the familiar tug of obligation, tried to creep back in, but I held my ground. "I can't keep doing this, Mom," I said, my voice steady. "I've done everything I could for you, but you never once asked if I needed help. It was always about what you needed, what Kate needed. It's not fair." There was silence on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing, hear the weight of the moment sink in. Then she spoke softly, almost pleading. "Emma, you're all we've got. We're not asking for much. Just a little help." I clenched my fists, fighting the surge of frustration. "You never asked for help, Mom. You just took over and over again and expected me to always be there. But I'm not your backup anymore. I'm not your ATM. I'm not your safety net. I'm your daughter. And I deserve more than this." Another pause, another moment of silence. "I'm sorry," she finally whispered. "I didn't realize, I didn't know how much you were giving." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I knew it was too late for apologies. What was done was done. There were no words that could fix the years of resentment, of feeling invisible, of constantly being asked to sacrifice without ever being seen. And so I hung up. For the first time in a long time, I felt nothing. No anger, no guilt, just a quiet, unwavering sense of clarity. I had done the right thing. I had set a boundary that should have been set years ago. But even then, I knew it wasn't over. I knew they'd be back when they needed me again, when the bills piled up, when they needed someone to fix things. But this time, I wouldn't be there. I couldn't be. A few weeks passed and life began to fall into a rhythm again. Workdays became simpler and nights quieter. I woke up, made my coffee, worked, came home, but something had changed. Not just in my life, but in how I felt. All those years of fighting for recognition now seemed distant, something that no longer mattered. I stopped striving for approval, stopped waiting for validation. But one thought still lingered. Why did I put up with this for so long? Of course, my parents continued to send me messages, but now I felt no urge to respond. My mom kept texting, always asking for help with something, paying bills, handling some minor issue. It was the same as before. They had forgotten again that I was no longer their go-to problem solver. One day, while sitting at work reviewing reports, a message from Kate came through. I knew it wouldn't be pleasant, but I opened it anyway. Mom's still crying. She can't deal with this. You can't just leave us, right? My heart tightened. Old feelings surfaced. Doubts, guilt, the thought that maybe I should help, but I forced myself to stop and read the message again. You're not obligated to save them. You're not their safety net, not their fixer, when they've never been there for you. I stared at my phone and typed, I can't fix this. You don't need help. You need change. I won't continue this anymore. Just as I hit send, another message came in, this time from my mom. Reading it, I felt that familiar heaviness in my chest. It was the same as always, asking for help like nothing had changed. You can't just leave us in this mess, Emma. We're still your family. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. I didn't respond, not out of anger, but because I didn't need to prove anything anymore. I left her words unanswered and went back to my work. Family was no longer my responsibility, and I wasn't going to keep pretending that I was obligated to fix their mistakes. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between us grew heavier. My phone remained mostly untouched. I didn't want to respond to my parents' messages, didn't want to feel that pull to be the person they expected me to be. Instead, I focused on my work, on building something that mattered to me, something that was all mine. But no matter how busy I stayed, I couldn't shake the nagging thought in the back of my mind. I had spent years feeling invisible in my own family. Years of giving without question, always being the one to fix things, the one to help. But when I finally drew the line, when I finally said no, I didn't feel the relief I had expected. Instead, I felt a void, an emptiness that I couldn't quite fill. Was it because I had cut them off, or was it because, deep down, I had always hoped they would see me differently? Maybe, just maybe, I had been waiting for them to come to their senses and realize how much I had done for them and how little they had ever appreciated it. That morning, as I sat in my office checking emails and responding to clients, my phone buzzed again. A message from Kate. Mom is asking if you're okay. She says you're being unreasonable. Please, just come home. It's not like before. You can't just walk away. I didn't even have to think about it. I typed my response without hesitation. No, Kate, I'm not unreasonable. I'm done being the person you all only turn to when things fall apart. You never cared about me until it was convenient. I won't be there anymore, and I don't owe you an explanation. The response was immediate. Kate's next message was full of frustration and anger. Fine, be like that. You're acting like you don't even care about Mom or Dad. This is pathetic. I stared at the screen for a moment, then set my phone down. It wasn't worth engaging. She didn't get it. None of them did. For all the years I had been there, for all the things I had done without a word of thanks, they still couldn't see what was wrong. They still thought I owed them, that I should be grateful for the scraps they gave me. I had spent so much of my life trying to be the good daughter, the reliable one. But I was tired. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of carrying the weight for people who never once considered what I needed. The phone buzzed again. This time it was from my mom. Emma, please? We need to talk. We understand now, and we're sorry. Can you just come over? We can fix this. I let the message sit there, unread for a long time. It was the same pattern, the same hollow apologies, the same promises to do better. But I knew better. Words didn't change the years of neglect, the years of feeling invisible, the years of being used. I didn't reply. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. I wasn't carrying their burdens anymore. But it wasn't over yet. I knew this would come back. They would find a way to manipulate me, to make me feel guilty. It wasn't over until they realized that I had finally learned to put myself first. The next few days passed in a strange sort of limbo. My routine remained the same: meetings, deadlines, the constant hum of my professional life. But even with the demands of work, the silence from my family lingered in the background, like a heavy fog I couldn't shake off. I had expected the silence to feel liberating. I thought I'd be happy, free from the pressure, to be the one who always fixed things. But now, in the quiet, I realized something unsettling. The hole they had left in my life wasn't filled with relief. It was filled with uncertainty. Was I really doing the right thing? Had I made the wrong choice? Was I being too harsh, too unforgiving? That was when the message came. It was from my mom. And unlike all the others, this one wasn't a request or a demand. It was different. I know you don't want to talk to us. I understand why you're upset, but I need to say something to you, Emma. It's not just about money. It's not about what you've given. It's about how we treated you. And for that, I am truly sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that we've been wrong. All of us. I stared at the screen, the words sinking in slowly. It felt like something inside me shifted. Like a door I had closed was cracking open just a little. She was acknowledging it. Finally. But then, as I read the message again, another text popped up. This one from my dad. Emma, we're sorry. We made Miss come home. Kate misses you. We all do. The words felt like an echo from a past I had already left behind. It wasn't the apology I had been waiting for. It was the apology I had been hoping for. But it came too late. It felt empty. A desperate attempt to fix something that had long been broken. They were sorry, but not sorry enough to change. I didn't reply. I didn't want to engage. Not this time. I had already made my decision. They had made their bed, and now they were asking me to lie in it with them. But I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were. The next day, as I sat in my office, there was a knock on the door. I looked up to see my assistant standing there, holding an envelope. Emma, there's a letter for you. It's marked urgent. It's from your parents. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Thanks, Julie. I'll take a look. When the door closed behind her, I opened the envelope, expecting the same kind of plea for help, the same request to fix things. But instead, it was something I didn't expect at all. The letter was a legal document detailing a change in their will. The property, all their savings, everything they had, was now split between Kate and me. But with a twist. It was clear they had no intention of making things right. They were trying to buy back my love with money, offering me what I had given them for years, but it was too little, too late. I dropped the letter onto my desk, my fingers trembling slightly. This wasn't about family. This was about control. This was about them trying to reassert power, to make me feel like I owed them something. I stood up, walked over to the window, and stared out at the city below. The decision had been made for me long ago. I wasn't going back. I wasn't going to let them pull me back into the same cycle of guilt and sacrifice. This was my life now, and I had finally learned that the most important person to take care of wasn't them. It was me. The following days were a blur. Work kept me busy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The letter from my parents, the legal documents they had sent, they had crossed a line. It wasn't just an apology. It was an attempt to manipulate me once again, to buy back my affection with what they thought would make things right. But I wasn't going to fall for it. That evening, as I walked home from the office, my phone buzzed with a message from Kate. Mom's been a wreck. She's still upset about everything. Can we just talk? I know things have been hard between us, but you're still family. Please, Emma, don't shut us out. I read the message, then set my phone down on the table. The words were familiar, but now they felt hollow. It was the same thing they had always done. Use guilt, use family as leverage to make me feel responsible for their happiness. But I was done. I had spent too many years in that role, always trying to fix things, always trying to make them proud. But it had never worked. Not once. A few hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from my mom. I stared at the screen, the familiar pang of guilt rising in my chest. I let it ring, but didn't pick up. Then a message came through from her. Emma, I've been thinking about what you said. I know I've messed up, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I can't stand the silence. I just want to know if you're okay. I need to hear your voice. Please call me back. I sat there, staring at the message. There was a part of me that wanted to respond, to reach out and reconnect. But deep down, I knew that nothing would change. She had apologized, but it wasn't enough. Not after everything that had happened. Not after all the years of feeling invisible, of being used, of being the backup daughter when it suited them. And then, as if the universe had been waiting for the right moment, I got a call from Liam. The man I had only met briefly, but whose name now seemed to echo in my mind like a strange twist of fate. He was the one who had been with Kate at the family gathering. He was the one my parents had tried to impress, the one who had been given the spotlight while I remained in the shadows. I picked up the phone. Emma, he said, his voice tentative. I don't know if this is the right time, but I think we need to talk. I felt my pulse quicken. What about? I've been thinking a lot about everything, he said. About the way things went down with your family. About Kate and you. I've been wanting to reach out for a while now, but I didn't know if I had the right to. But I think you need to know something. What is it? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Kate, she's been lying about a lot of things. She told me things about you, things that weren't true. And I've been trying to figure out why she's been acting this way. But now I realize it's because she never saw you for who you really are. You're not just some background character in her perfect little world. I sat still, letting his words sink in. I knew Kate was manipulative, but hearing Liam say it out loud, hearing him finally acknowledge what I had known for years, made something shift inside me. For once, someone saw me clearly. For once, someone saw through the facade. I don't need you to fix things, Liam, I said softly. I don't need anyone to fix things anymore. I'm done being the one to hold everything together. There was a long pause before he spoke again. I understand, and I just wanted you to know that you're not alone in this. I see you. His words were simple, but they carried more weight than anything my family had ever said to me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I didn't feel like the one who had to carry the burden alone. The weeks that followed Liam's confession felt like a strange kind of healing. I didn't reach out to my family. I didn't need to. The silence was no longer a painful weight. It was freedom. I had made peace with the fact that I could never be the daughter they wanted me to be. But I didn't need to be. I focused on my work, my company, the people who truly appreciated me. I made decisions that were right for me, not for anyone else. And slowly, I began to see the results. My business was thriving. I was taking on new projects that excited me. I even found the time to take a weekend trip, something I hadn't done in years, just to relax and enjoy a moment of peace without the constant weight of family expectations. But as time passed, there was still that lingering question in the back of my mind. Would they ever truly understand what they had lost? Would they ever see me for who I was, and not just for what I could do for them? It was on one quiet Sunday afternoon, about 2 months later, when I got a message from Kate. I had been expecting it, though I had hoped it would never come. She never reached out to ask how I was doing or if I needed anything. No, it was always about what she wanted. Emma, I know you're still upset with us, but Mom and Dad have been talking and they want to make things right. We miss you. Please, come home. We need to fix this. I stared at the message for a long time, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and clarity. There was a time when I would have dropped everything to rush to their side, but not anymore. The truth had settled in deep, and it was clear that nothing would change unless they truly understood what had been done. And I knew, deep down, they wouldn't. I didn't respond to the message. Instead, I spent the rest of the day doing exactly what I wanted. I went for a walk through the city, grabbed a coffee at a cafe I had always wanted to visit, and then curled up on the couch with a good book. For the first time in ages, I was doing things for me, not out of obligation, but out of choice. A few hours later, I got another message from my mom. This time, it wasn't a request. It was more of a simple acknowledgement. Emma, I know I've messed up, and I'm sorry for the way I've treated you. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I just want you to know that I love you. I always have. I took a deep breath and read the message again. It wasn't an apology I had been waiting for, but it was one that I could accept. My mom had finally said the words I had needed to hear. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry or bitter. I just felt calm. I didn't reply to her right away. I didn't need to. It wasn't about her. It was about me. I had learned to let go of the need for their approval. I had learned to stop measuring my worth by their standards. A few days later, I received a call from Liam. We talked for hours, and I realized something. For the first time, I was truly understood. Not because he was trying to fix everything, but because he accepted me as I was. He didn't see me as a daughter in a broken family, a fixer, or a disappointment. He saw me as someone who had learned to stand up for herself. That night, I sat on my balcony, the cool evening breeze brushing past me, and I looked out over the city. The lights twinkled in the distance, but everything felt different. I had walked away from everything that had held me back, and I had done it for me. I didn't need their validation anymore. I didn't need to be the one to fix everything. I was finally free.